Ladies and gentlemen, I've talked a lot about like tech stuff and I talked a lot about like, age verification stuff, but today I got to talk about something really nerdy and different. Now, I love video games. I love games like Mass Effect. Now, if you've never played Mass Effect, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to like straight up tell you it's up there for $8 on PlayStation, okay? $8. Ladies and gentlemen, I have spent more on a sandwich. I have spent more on a McDonald's, goddamn Big Mac combo than this fine series of role-playing games. Now, why am I talking about Mass Effect today, ladies and gentlemen? I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid right off. I was reading the other day that there was a TV show, and I've been following the TV show for a fair bit, but apparently the head of Amazon, or the head of their television department, wants to rewrite the scripts and make them more appealing to non-gamers. Blow my brains right out. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say every TV adaptation of a video game franchise is bad. Obviously, listen, okay? There's some good examples, I would say. I enjoyed Fallout Season 1. Didn't particularly enjoy Fallout Season 2. Kind of stopped watching it a few episodes in because I was like, you know what? Wasting my time? Not going to waste it any further. There have been so many terrible television shows centered around video games, like the Halo TV show, for instance, where, instead of focusing on what really made the Halo storyline or what really excited me about the universe of Halo, I'm looking at Master Chief's asshole. I'm asking myself questions of, is Cortana being cuckolded right now? I'm not going to elaborate further on that sentence. I actually would like you to watch the television show. I think it's even on Netflix, for crying out loud at this point. I've spent my hours watching entire shows of Resident Evil. Remember the Resident Evil TV show that canonized 4chan and Zootopia porn? I'm not even joking when I say that. Some motherfucker sitting down right now, probably playing a video game. Somebody's playing Crimson Desert on monitor A. I'm on monitor B and they just heard that sentence and they're like, holy shit, did I hear something AI written? No, I think AI would have probably written a better fucking show than whatever they were doing with the Resident Evil shit at Netflix. But anyways, Mass Effect television show is apparently being rewritten, allegedly of course, to make it more appealing to the non-gamers. Now, I really don't understand this, particular thing. I wanted to look even deeper in. Because ultimately the idea was that the drama sci-fi series was on verge of a full order, leaving the production and us in limbo while we await a decision. It's not clear what aspects of the script Peter Friedlander, who by the way is the head of global TV over at Amazon, could pull off with the coming franchise. Now, granted, they actually have a lot of the people from Amazon's Fallout show over here, but honestly, given Season 2, I'm not particularly looking that, fruitful towards them doing Mass Effect any justice over there. To be real with you, I really felt that, Fallout Season 2 was kind of just all over the place. Just a waste of my time. Wasn't really something that I was jumping into. Honestly, a lot of television stuff has really just blown, it's, when you watch older TV series, like I'm actually rewatching The Sopranos again, and it's like, back in the day, they would just release these shows year by year, and they would actually give you a lot of episodes per season. And generally, I think the writing and the quality of those older television shows was probably better than most of the stuff I see now. If anything, I think modern television shows, like aside from stuff like maybe Severance, nothing really stands out to me. Nothing really just grabs me and pulls me in. Something like Mass Effect being rewritten for non-gamers actually makes no sense to me because it's one of the only IPs in gaming that I honestly feel is probably the most suited for people that aren't gamers to begin with. Now, to give you an idea, one of the big things about Mass Effect for me was I got into the franchise as a draught back in the late 2000s when it actually came out on the Xbox 360. To give you context, when I got my 360, one of the games that I saved up for was Mass Effect. So by the time Halo 3 ended up dropping, a lot of the friends that I knew was playing Halo online. I didn't really have the money at the time for the constant Xbox Live a month. So really for me, Halo multiplayer for a while usually just meant me playing with my little brother or buddies coming over to play split screen. But for me, I was really into the single player stuff. So I ended up buying Mass Effect. Like I saved up money to get this game. And it was the first time I really felt that, I was playing something that was at the time really next gen. I was used to playing video games where like text box would show up, I would read through dialogue. But here, every single bit of interaction in the game, whether it be a main story or a side quest, usually revolved around an in-game cutscene. You would see your character go up, talk to another character, and it would all be done through natural dialogue. The next dialogue you would pick would be in a conversation wheel at the bottom. You would pick a specific quadrant, and your character would naturally say the next line coming forward. It all flowed together beautifully. And it was one of those games where, like, even the production value of the cutscenes at the time really felt like it matched a movie or a television show. And it was one of those games where I distinctly remember, like, very recently now that I played it, played it again with the Legendary Edition, like the actual, like, full-on compilation that I showed you earlier. My mom, who's not even a gamer whatsoever, I mean, the only game that she really knows is, Super Mario Brothers. And, again, that's a game from, like, way back in the day. When she's over at my place looking at Mass Effect, she's, like, interested into the story. She thought it was a movie the first time. And, it was one of those things where I played the game and she basically just watched all the cutscenes and the narrative flow together, and she enjoyed it. I remember we were playing exactly the mission, Mass Effect 2, where we were doing one of the main storylines where you had to go into, I believe it was the Dantius Towers, and like do the mission where you had to recruit Thane Krios. And she was there at the end of that cutscene. She was watching it all play out, and she's like, dang, this is really good. And it is really good. It's one of those games where I feel like, if you want to make a TV show or a movie on any video game, it's probably the one that was designed to be an episodic RPG like Mass Effect. So when I see these showrunners come up with this stupid shit out in Hollywood, it pains me because a lot of it feels so insulting for a lot of these like Hollywood types, the TV show, the movie experts, to come in and say, listen, this is a game, right? This is a video game. This is a video. It's a thing for kids. How do we take this already established method of storytelling, this already established thing, and try to make it so that the non-gamers can jump into the story? Which I never really understand. It's like, take apart all of the gameplay from Mass Effect and just watch the movie, basically take all the cutscenes and put it together. I think the entirety of Mass Effect is effectively watchable for anybody that's not even a gamer. If you honestly wanted to play through or just watch Mass Effect, nothing stops you from going to the search bar on top of this website, typing in Mass Effect trilogy full movie, and just watching somebody supercut the cutscenes of the game together and just having it out there. That would probably be better than whatever it seems like these showrunners want to kind of push for. It's the same problem that I see with game to TV adaptations like Resident Evil, like Halo, in some cases even like Fallout, where it seems like, well, and Fallout's less of an egregious example, but it just seems like obviously for, a lot of these like showrunners, they want to look at an already established IP or property and find some way to put their own interesting spin on it. Like when I hear in some cases when a showrunner is like, and this came with Halo, for instance, where, the actual showrunner was like, we don't really fucking play the video games. We don't really care. Well, then what's the fucking point of making a video game adaptation when you're not even trying to take the actual core material seriously? Mass Effect is one of those games where, like, you could take so many aspects that haven't even been touched upon and focus on them and make some really good television adaptations out of it. Hell, you could make really good fucking video games. It's crazy. The closest we have to talking about this is on BioWare's website, where every year they do this N7-day bullshit. And generally, I think, I'm going to be real with you, one blog post telling me that the next Mass Effect game is in development is not enough. But understandably over here, they did kind of talk about how they wrote this TV series, or not really them, but basically they're partnering with Amazon on it, which I imagine, if you're making a game franchise, you probably do want to partner with the people bringing it to the fucking silver screen, So here they're like, they're telling it, this show will explore a brand new story in the universe's timeline and will be set after the original trilogy. It won't be a retread of Commander Shepard's story because, after all, that's your story. Now, if you've never played Mass Effect, I want you to kind of think of it like a choose-your-own-adventure book. There's a lot of ways you can play play this game, right? A lot of things you do in Mass Effect 1 carry over into Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. In fact, the reason I'm so fucking fired up about this right now is for the first time in my life, after playing this series for an ungodly amount of hours, is I'm finally playing through the series making every single worst decision imaginable. And I'm not following like some standard IGN, here's like 4 key decisions in every game, here's the worst. No, I'm looking at every side quest, tertiary quest, main quest, and finding the worst possible decisions to make. Because one thing that really blew my mind is I did miss a lot of things that I never really saw in the original playthroughs that I had for this game. So it really feels like I'm coming across a new game just by playing it way differently than I was supposed to. And again, by the time you get to the end of the original Mass Effect trilogy, the actual final decision you have leads the world in so many different directions that I'm also wondering how the fuck do they make it come after the original trilogy? You know, if you play games like Mass Effect Andromeda, God forbid, those games take place 600 years in a galaxy far, far away. So in that game's storyline, nobody fucking knows what happened in the original trilogy, and it's kind of divided that way. I don't know how they tend to do this here. I also don't know how they're going to do another Mass Effect game while trying to canonize the rapidly different endings of the original trilogy. But that's entirely up to BioWare and I guess the showrunners who are trying to make the game appeal to the non-gamer. On a game franchise that, by the way, is probably 50-60% cutscenes, storytelling that way, okay? In fact, for a lot of people, you know, you could probably just get rid of the gameplay sections of Mass Effect and just leave the cutscenes with the decision-making side of it. It's just that heavy narrative-wise for a video game series. So when I read shit about like the showrunner who's like trying to basically look at it and saying, hey, rewrite the script so that the non-gamers can appeal. What exactly is it that the non-gamer is going to be appealed to? What is it about Mass Effect that you have to remove to make it appeal to the non-gamer? Is it the gameplay? Well, no shit, you're gonna get rid of that. Are you gonna get rid of all the action? No. Are you gonna get rid of like the lore? Are you gonna get rid of things like that? If anything, Mass Effect does a really good job of like detailing and building its lore without actually being overbearing. There's one story about Mass Effect that I really wanted, like a lot of these TV shows, and I actually wanted a whole game about this, was something known as the First Contact War. Now, again, I'm somebody that wants to see aliens in real life, and you know, for the last several videos when I talk about like aliens and space stuff, I always say, man, humanity's gonna get into a war, right, with aliens first thing. That's literally the plot of how humanity discovered aliens in Mass Effect. For instance, basically humans found a way to actually go and space travel. So by the time they were rapidly expanding, eventually they came across the first sentient race outside of humanity, called the Turians, these bird-looking motherfuckers. And turns out they started a war with them. They fired on them. Now you have to understand, Mass Effect's universe is where humans are just one piss in a pond. It's actually based entirely on the Fermi paradox, but you have to play the original trilogy to get it. Basically, the Turians, and by extension, other galactic races like the Asari, which is this all-female race. You've got the Solarians, you've got the space Muslims, the space Jews, you've got everything. You've got the space lizards that nuked each other. It's an entire franchise with all these characters. And every single one of these races, like the Turians, for instance, those were the guys that were like the space United States. They had the largest military armada, the conventional military. I would have loved a season of a Mass Effect TV show that kind of focused on it. Humanity comes across a new species, starts a war with them. And for us, it's considered a war. For the Turians, who have like the largest army in the world, they're like, what the fuck is this? They call it an incident. All right, it's all of these tiny things that, like, when compounded together, makes the universe of Mass Effect such an exciting world to look, and it's such a lived-in world. And more importantly than that, too, you can feel a lot of passion from the actual writers of the Mass Effect universe when they were crafting the original 3 games. So again, it's this kind of stuff that I feel like if the showrunners really gave a shit about it, they would have probably touched upon it to kind of, it would have been interesting to see humanity go from like, you know, sitting in one planet to finally rapidly expanding to space and almost getting fucking wiped because of their hubris in some ways. That would have been cool to see. But, you know, I was excited a lot for this show too, but given how recent shows have turned out, and more specifically just how Amazon's kind of treating this, I don't really know if I have much hope left in not just Hollywood, but a lot of these, like, a lot of the attitude that these people have towards video games. I think video games are art, first and foremost. And I think there have been so many video game franchises that have told a story better than some of the greatest movies I've seen out there, than the greatest TV shows specifically, that when I start reading this kind of stuff, it actually burns me on the inside, because I hate it when like somebody that has no involvement, that obviously looks at video games as like a kiddie toy, sees that yes, there's value in the IP, there's a lot of fans of this universe, but now let's spit on those fans and decide that we can suddenly fucking do it better. So now you're on track to make a television show that actually has no audience, you know? It's like the Resident Evil show. It's like, it wasn't even a good show for the people that don't fucking play video games. But for the people that love video games and Resident Evil, all we can do is cringe in the worst ways possible, you know? And sometimes there's like actual movie people, like a lot of people dislike the Resident Evil movies. I'm gonna be fucking completely honest with you. I love the Resident Evil movies. They're just the right amount of B-movie campy bullshit that I would expect from a Resident Evil movie. When I start to see like actual directions like this, you can tell that they don't want to make a Mass Effect show. They want to make some generic space opera. And at that point, why even waste your time on an Amazon Prime subscription when you could literally just replay the exact same franchise for $8 on PlayStation, or probably wait for actual spiritual successors? Like, I was hearing about this Expanse Osiris Reborn. It's from Owlcat Games, and just looking at it, you can tell that they're taking that Mass Effect DNA, and they're actually making a real spiritual successor to it. Now, this game could be dog shit, but I have more faith in this than I have with the official Mass Effect television show, where apparently even the showrunner just does not care about making it for the gamers. I get expanding the audience. I understand it. The people that watch television shows are not the same audience that plays video games, and honestly, vice versa. But if you're going to carry something, if you're going to make, you need to honor the original source material. Otherwise, you end up having a Halo television show scenario where nobody, and I mean literally nobody, is fucking happy, okay? You set the entire medium back 100 times, and people that would have been interested in Mass Effect now look at it as some cringe space opera that, you know, they would probably watch the television show and go, hey man, this is a really great TV show. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy the games for like $8 on PlayStation or on Steam or on Xbox, and I'm going to play the series again there. No! You know, it's like the Assassin's Creed movie. You know, if it wasn't for me in a 6-hour flight watching that dog shit and experiencing that filth first fucking hand. God, I hate Hollywood sometimes, man. I really do. It's run by people that just do not care about any other art form but their own. And they don't even give a fuck about their own art form, for crying out loud, man. Whew. But you know what? Maybe, and I hope to God that I'm wrong at the end of the day, like maybe, just maybe it'll be the greatest television show and I'll be eating fucking crow. And honestly, I'd rather that be the case, because at least we'll get something good out of it. But just the attitude alone, it fucking burns me to my core, man. It really does. It really... You know what? You should play Mass Effect. If anything, to take away from this video is that Mass Effect is one of the best stories in sci-fi gaming. And if you've never played it, I want to say I am the most jealous person right now of your brain, okay? It's like fucking playing Metal Gear for the first time. What an amazing experience. Give it a try today, play it, and then you tell me what you really need to change to make something appeal to the non-gamer. Like, what does the non-gamer crowd mean? What does the modern audience mean anymore, dude? Like, it's just... God damn! Ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like if you dislike it, I am out.